Hi, I'm Corey Walmsley. I'm CEO of Aurora Borealis Publishing. I'm a writing coach, a book editor, and also an author of 9 books. So today, what we're going to be talking about is what to do if your book is no longer aligned. What do I mean by aligned? That means that it doesn't line up with what you're doing in your business. It doesn't line up with what you're currently interested in. It doesn't line up with some piece, which makes it kind of a mismatch. So think of it that way. And there are, of course, two different parts of the, the book process that we want to cover. The first is going to be while you're writing your book. And the second one is after your book is out and hopefully out for at least a couple years before you start saying, yeah, this isn't aligned anymore. So during the book writing process, if you're working on your book and you start feeling like there's something wrong, step back and ask yourself a few questions. You want to see if what your book is about is actually matching up with your business, and it's actually matching up with where your business is going. If you've been talking about how people can get healthy by adjusting their diet, and then you've been working with a lot of women who have a hormonal issue and you've been trying to help them balance that out, maybe the book that you've been thinking about, like if you've been planning on doing this for a while and you've been thinking about writing about, how to tweak your diet to eat healthy and, get your body healthier. And maybe that's what you're working on because that's what you've been doing. But then as you're writing this, you seem to be attracting a lot of people with this hormonal imbalance and you're helping them with that. This is just an example. And of course, I'm not a health coach, so don't yell at me if it's not like, oh my God, this makes no sense. So let's say that that's where your business is now. And that's kind of an interest of yours. That's something that really feels aligned, that you feel strongly connected to shifting your business in that direction. So because of that, your book doesn't feel aligned. And when I say it doesn't feel aligned, you can feel this, like physically feel this in several different ways. So maybe you sit down and you start writing and the words just aren't coming. That could be a sign that your book's not aligned. Or maybe you sit down and you just get this feeling in your stomach. That's your gut, that's your intuition, that's nudges from God, universe, source, whatever you want to call it. Those are things that you really need to pay attention to. So if you're feeling this, this kind of yucky feeling, this ugh in your stomach, it could also come on as a headache. So you may be writing and you start getting this headache, almost like you're trying to force the words out and they don't want to come. So your head is starting to hurt because of it. All of those kind of feelings are very normal if your book isn't aligned. So make sure that you're listening to them. Definitely trust your gut if you feel like that book is not working out for you. What do you do next? Okay, so we've identified the problem. Next up, you want to start going through your outline. See if there are pieces of your book that you've already written that could shift over and work for the new book. Because you don't want to continue working on a book that isn't aligned. And you may need to actually pause for a couple weeks and say, all right, I'm going to shake the cobwebs out, shake out all the weird feelings, and I'm actually going to focus on what I can do to help this book. I'm not telling you to scrap the whole book. And of course, I would have to look at it personally to be able to tell you if you do need to scrap a lot of it. What I would do is look at what pieces of the outline actually work with the new book. Identify what that new outline is going to be. Make sure that that outline aligns with the new book, because you don't want, or with the new book, the new direction, the new purpose, all of those things, because you don't want to try to pull all that old stuff into the new one. You do want the new book to be aligned. And chances are you can use some of what you've already written, unless it's something totally different. Because remember, your experiences are your own. Your clients, the stuff that they've done, that's all stuff that you can bring along, unless it's something that you completely shifted over and done something completely different. So be open to this. And remember, none of those words that you wrote are wasted. This is all time that you spent thinking about your business, thinking about your book. And it could be that working on your book in that way actually got you to shift and say, you know what, this isn't me anymore. So that is a wonderful thing. It's a good thing to recognize, a good thing to know. And then, of course, when you start into the new book, trust your gut. If it's feeling like it's flowing well, yes, that was a good move. Good move. Give yourself a thumbs up, a pat on the back, and take the evening off because you need to relax and celebrate. But that also means that you may have to adjust your timeline for getting that book out. So make sure that you talk with any editors, publishers, any of that, and let them know, hey, I've shifted my business. I decided to shift my book, so it's going to take me an extra month or whatever. The other end of it, if you've already written your book and you start feeling like this book doesn't really align with what I do anymore, don't continue to force it. You might have that as like, if somebody comes to you and says, for the health example, hey, I wanted to talk to you about, my diet, tweaking that. I want to be really healthy. And you might say, that's not really what I'm working on now. I'm dealing more with hormones and how to adjust, help balance those so you can be healthy. But I do have this book that I wrote a few years ago that's about that. Don't be afraid to say, yes, I did this and it's not aligned anymore. That is perfectly cool. It's okay. We're always changing. I'm doing different things than I was a few years ago too. So that's okay. But don't keep dragging that book along and saying, I have to keep using this. I have to keep forcing my business to work with this, because you don't. You really don't. It can still be out there. Hopefully you've published in a way that you can be up on Amazon or, have other distribution methods. By distribution, I mean it appears on virtual bookshelves so people can actually go out and purchase the book. And those people, yes, they will still get something from your words. They will, you'll still get the royalties from that book and all that good stuff. But it's okay. Just say, this isn't aligned anymore, and that's okay. Bless and release, and let the people who need to find it, add that book, but then don't worry about working with them, because that's not something you do anymore. Although you may want to have another coach or somebody else who's a specialist that you can recommend, who does handle that sort of thing. So make sure you trust your gut, listen to what it's telling you, and write the book that is aligned for you and your brand.